What can I say, guys? I'm a sucker for TKL keyboards, and even though this isn't a TKL keyboard, I would say this is the next best thing. Here we have the LightSalt Curve ergonomical 79 keys mechanical keyboard, which is definitely something else on the market. And I think taking everything that it has and everything that it's made of, and the switches, the keycaps, wrist rest and everything, you're gonna love this one, even though you're maybe a fan of a 60% keyboard or you're a fan of a full-size keyboard, because it's really something different. So let's find out what we got in box first. As I always like to point out, the packaging is really outstanding. So let's start with cables. They're both detachable, and yes, you get two sets of cables. Unfortunately, they're not Type C, but we'll get past that part since we have something else right here. Now, the part that goes into the keyboard is a standard USB mini, and the other side is USB A. So you have an adapter here that you could use for USB Type C connectivity. So you could basically use this part to connect your keyboard to USB Type C. Now this is something without a doubt, I haven't encountered this in any keyboard. But for instance, why are here two sets of cables? One is shorter, one is longer, depending where you're going to use it. Are you going to use it on your laptop? Are you going to use it on your PC? And this is where the Type-C connection comes along and comes quite handy. Additional to that, we get a keycap remover, which is always handy if you wish to clean up everything beneath. But then again, it's a standard keycap remover, and we definitely have an interesting keycaps. Before we go into keycaps and switches, because we have quite interesting switches, you get a wrist rest, which has at the bottom 4 rubber feet to keep the wrist rest and the keyboard steady on your table. But check this out, it attaches quite easily because it's magnetic, and this is why I always prefer magnetic wrist rests towards those they actually had to be clicked inside the keyboard with 2 or 4 pins depending on which wrist rest. So it's quite cool, and it really does, it's not soft, it is plastic after all, but it has a nice feel and definitely will help you type. Now to the main actor, let's start at the bottom. You haven't seen this on any keyboard. First of all, you have 8 rubber feet at the bottom to keep the keyboard definitely steady. You have possibility to raise the angle of the keyboard with 2 additional feet, and they both have rubber feet as well. So even though you lose 4 of them, you still have 6, so basically 8 compared to 6, it's quite alright. The bottom part is shaped completely differently, and you have some sort of a dents here. It's most likely the design or something like that, but nevertheless. When it comes to the wrist rest and the magnetic part, since I placed the raised legs here, the wrist rest works perfectly fine in any situation. So it's basically up to your preferences, and you don't have to worry about the wrist rest. Now both the keyboard and the wrist rest have a small written and logo here at the right side. So LightSalt, very nice, very subtle, really cool. Now let's go with the main stuff. Now the keyboard, as I already stated, like TKL, well, the best next thing, it has all the buttons that you need apart from the numerical pad, and you have the escape from F1 to F12 buttons. You have modes for your lighting to adjust the brightness. You have multimedia keys with function button, and all the other buttons are right here, arrows and delete and print screen. When we're talking about LightSalt Kurve ergonomical keyboard, it was designed to be a perfect keyboard for writing and also for gaming. Now the design and the keys in different shape, the keycaps in different shape, give you some sort of an ergonomical way to type. And what they stated is every key press, and while typing and doing everything, is to prevent you guys from pressing twice a single button to get double letters, or mistakenly pressing a wrong one. I mean, okay, it's after your fingers and how you coordinate yourself, but basically, if these shapes really do that and help you, and especially when they also stated that it was designed 1,000 times to get the perfect ergonomical shape, then I think it's quite alright. The wrist rest helps you get the perfect way of typing. So even though you raise your legs at the back of the keyboard to get some sort of a degree of the keyboard that makes you more comfortable while typing, the wrist rest really does help you get a nice feel and doesn't get any restraints while typing. And I mean, this is just perfect. Now, I wanted to check out the frozen silent switches. This is something definitely new, which I haven't encountered yet. They're completely see-through. You don't even have a brand on it since it's their product. And it has the standard MX Steam, but with some sort of a, I don't know how to call them, with some edges at the, so you can't basically switch the keycaps. It's not only because of the steam, it's also because of the keycaps. They're really something special and different. Now, taking into consideration that we have a quite interesting design right here, first of all, let's check out how the frozen silent switches sound. The microphone is like maybe 25-30 centimeters away, which is quite alright to get the noise and sound level so it doesn't burst your ears while typing. But then again, we have a frozen silent switch, and the switches are incredibly quiet, and it has a certain tactile feel without a doubt, but unfortunately I don't know, and I didn't find anywhere on the internet or anywhere else, I didn't find the actual actuation force, actuation distance, and full key travel. But I can clearly say that it's quite fast, without a doubt. It's not fast under 1.2 to 2 millimeters, it's somewhere around there. The whole travel, I honestly can't actually say it, and the actuation force, it's pretty light actually. So when it comes to frozen silent switches, just outstanding. It's quiet, you can use it in the office, and it does sound quite nice. Typing on this one is basically just something that it's quite natural, and it doesn't even involve you mistaking anything, because the shapes of the keycaps, and you might think I'm talking nonsense, but honestly I'm saying this, it's quite nice to type on this one. It has really cool design, and you know what, let me just check the bigger keycaps. They have a slight wobble, the shift one. The enter is quite alright, but it's quite smaller than your average shift, and the space almost to none. So the stabilizers are also quite alright. Okay, so what can we do in their software for the LightSalt Kurve keyboard? We have loads of actually options, and here we have some presets on the left with the current preset showing what it is, and then changing the colors to what you want. You have here, for an example, how it is going to actually look on your keyboard, and after that there's more options. Of course, you have options to lock the caps lock and lock windows even without accessing, because frankly you don't have gaming mode. You have to lock it here in the software, and of course there's an option for the FN shortcuts. You can choose the lightning effects here as well, so this kind of gives you more options for the RGB. You have a quick select for all the buttons and group buttons that you can choose, and here on the left side is basically quite more interesting as well, because you can adjust everything even for each software, as you can see right here. So guys, to sum it all up, the keyboard is quite outstanding when we take into consideration the ergonomical aspect of typing, where even the keycaps are shaped differently and not the standard shape, but it's also based on the edges, so you don't have sharp edges like on standard keycaps. Frozen silent switches, which are definitely quite comfortable to type in terms of the feel and the speed and the actuation, so it's quite nice. The actuation force, definitely you don't need to push them too hard to get the actuation to your PC. Then after all, we have the wrist rest, which is quite outstanding. First of all, because it's magnetic, and I always prefer magnetic wrist rest just because of this. It can be easily removed and easily placed back. The design of the whole keyboard, it does remind me of a TKL version of the keyboard, but even though it has a couple of keys less, it's still fully functional, especially when you use their LightSalt software that can assist you with the functions, with the RGB lights, with the multifunctional buttons, locking caps lock, Windows lock, and stuff like that. If you're looking for something that is different from all the other keyboards that you ever had, you're taking a look for some ergonomical stand when we discuss the wrist rest and the way you type and the less flaws that you make while typing and similar stuff, my warm recommendation with the LightSalt Kurve keyboard, just because it's something different, that is something ergonomical, because it's easy to type on it and the layout is just insane. So guys, subscribe for future content, click the thumbs up button for the LightSalt Kurve Mechanical keyboard, and finally click the notification bell for future videos. See you in another one very soon. Bye bye.